Hi, I'm Renee Lewis, and in honor of Veterans Day, we are going to interview one of our most prestigious veterans in our church here at Laurelwood. And so today you get to meet Bill Davidson, and he's going to tell us his story about serving in Korea in 1953. So Bill, this is Bill Davidson. And so Bill, I want you to tell us a little bit.
Okay.
So, how old were you when you went to Korea and actually joined the Army?
Well, I was actually 19, and that was the draft age.
And I was just going to ask you, were you drafted or did you volunteer?
I drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I was drafted.
Yeah.
And I want to back up a little bit to this and why I feared the draft.
Okay.
Okay.
And I bet you weren't the only one.
Yeah, I was raised in San Fernando Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and that was truly just farm country and desert.
Mm-hmm.
And in World War II, I had a cousin who was a pilot in the Air Force, piloted a B-25 bomber.
Mm-hmm.
And his plane went down,
Ooh,
and we lost him.
Scary.
And that kind of put the fear in my heart as, at that time, a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always worried that maybe someday I'd have to do that. And maybe it would make it, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Jumping ahead now to 11 years old, I was at a camp in California called Forest Home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time I'd been away from home. And I was getting pretty homesick by Wednesday.
What day did the camp start?
And, pardon me?
What day did the camp start?
I don't remember which day it started. I just know I was there a week.
And then you were homesick.
But I was sitting at the counter of the ice cream shop,
Mm-hmm.
having a chocolate sundae. And the news came that World War II has been ended.
Mm.
And I sat there and I just thought, oh my goodness, that's wonderful. And it was.
Was that 1945?
That was 1945, yeah.
Okay.
1945. But what I'm bringing that up is because my dad sent me a postcard that I got on Wednesday. That's why I picked that day. And in the postcard, he said, son, I want you to memorize these verses. And it was 2 Timothy 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier for Jesus Christ, not being entangled with the affairs of this life,
Mm-hmm.
but that we may please him who has chosen us to be a soldier. Yeah, I thought, what does this mean?
Oh boy.
You know? And I memorized the verses because I knew I had to.
Yeah. You didn't know you'd need them later, huh?
And that was my point for bringing it up, because when my draft notice came, that memory verse has stuck with me all my life. And I began to understand its spiritual meaning, mm-hmm. on how we are to serve Christ with our lives. Mm-hmm. We're not to become entangled with everything that's going on in the world and get wrapped up into it, but we're to serve the Lord. And so I obviously for many times talked with my dad, mm-hmm. and he just encouraged me to be a good soldier for the United States.
And how old were you then?
At that time, I was 11.
Okay.
But I then, in the few years that passed, all of a sudden the Korean War started in 1950.
Right.
And
you were
at
just
that
coming
time,
of age. You were probably getting
I
nervous.
was just getting out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And the day came when I opened up the letter, and it said, welcome. The United States government needs you.
Uncle Sam needs you.
So I won't go into a lot of detail at this point other than to say that those two scriptures held me all the way through the war. Went to basic training, and right out of basic training, I was barely 19 years old. And I was at San Luis Obispo. And it was there that I got my training in communication.
I was just going to ask you, when you were in Korea, what was your actual job?
My actual job was receiving messages, sending them to the decode side to know where the message had to go. And as soon as that was done, we always had to wait until night because we had to drive complete blackout. And we could drive as far as the road would take us, knowing which unit we were going to go to. And then we had to go by foot to the front lines and deliver the message to whoever it is and try to sneak back to where we dropped the Jeep off and find our way back home, back to the base.
Scary.
A bunker. Yes, it was. And you began to realize what Scripture was saying. Thou therefore endure hardness. Now, I'm not trying to say that the hardness I endured was anything to be compared to what other veterans have gone through. And there's probably some veterans here in our church that have gone through harder things than I have gone. I just wanted to say that it was a privilege to serve my country. And yes, it was scary sneaking around in the dark night, because if you had one little flicker of light, like I didn't smoke, but some other guys would try to hide it. But if one little flicker, they would drop a mortar right on it.
Ooh,
they were that close. They were that good.
And that close.
And that close, yeah.
Oh boy, that's pretty scary. So, I was going to say, we have so many veterans at Laurelwood, and my husband Mike and I included. He's actually filming this right now. Thank you, Mike. We want to make sure we honor all of our veterans this Veterans Day. And so we thank everyone who's a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Amen.
And
Amen.
We don't know what all your jobs were. We don't know what your story was, but we just are so proud of you for serving fearlessly. Mike and I were fortunate because when we served, it was peacetime. And so we had a job where we listened and did Morse code from third world countries, and that was fun. But it was peacetime, and so you just heard me say it was fun. It wasn't scary. We didn't have to suffer any hardships like you did.
Yeah.
Tell us about what happened with your boots.
Oh, well, I, being 6'6", also had big feet. And it was hard enough for me to find size 14 shoes in the States at that time. And we knew that the winters in Korea would get down to 30 to 40 below zero. And so winter issues started coming in October. And everybody in my company, the 101st Signal Battalion, got their winter issue, which were thermal clothes and all that.
Hopefully you got clothes,
and
thermal clothes.
I got the clothes.
Okay.
That's another funny story in itself, but I'll stick to the boot.
Okay.
I had to deliver a message one night, and it was blistery cold. They said it was about 38 below zero that night.
Whoa.
Well, I hadn't gotten my boots, and I had gone through the chain of command 3 times, and they kept telling me that they were trying to find some, but I still had to go on duty, and so I just had regular combat boots, and my feet really were getting cold. We got the message delivered, but it was snowing so hard that it was almost a whiteout. And it was getting to where we couldn't see our tracks to find our way back to the Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally got back to the Jeep, I didn't feel anything up to my knees.
Wow.
And then it took us
Were you scared?
I wasn't scared. I just thought I was going to lose my legs.
Ooh, okay.
And it took us 2.5 hours to get back to the bunker. And they had to almost carry me into the bunker.
Ooh.
And then right away the officer recognized that it was probably frostbite. So took my boots off and put me in warm water, not hot water, just warm.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain that I was going through at that time was indescribable while they were thawing. And I said to myself, I've got to know how to get to my senator. So you've got to put yourself back in the 1950s, 52 to 53.
Uh-huh.
And communication isn't what it is today.
All you had was U.S. mail.
We had the U.S. mail, but it would take 8 days to get to the States.
Oh, my.
And sometimes...
They call that snail mail.
Snail.
They do. It's snail mail.
How about that? And so I wrote my mom and I said, I want the address and name of my senator because I'm going to write him a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it would take 8 days at least to get there and another 8 to get back to me. So we're heading right into mid-November.
Okay.
It's really getting
cold.
Everything is bitter. And I'm sitting in the bunker, and the teletype machine always gave you an idea of how important the message was. One ding on the teletype is just routine.
Okay.
And then it would go up to 2 to 3 to 4. 4 was operational immediate. And 5 was a flash, and that was an outbreak in the line somewhere. So all of a sudden the teletype machine goes ding, 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 ding. Man, I was up to the teletype machine, and as it starts to run, it runs at 60 beats a minute.
Well, I was just thinking, a lot of our young people, they don't know what a teletype machine is.
Yeah, well, that's... You could type in it like a typewriter.
Right.
And it would punch holes in the tape.
Right, okay.
And then that could be run through another machine and get the printout.
Okay.
Anyway, I got up and I looked at that thing, and the address on it was from the Commander-in-Chief, President Eisenhower.
Oh my gosh.
To the Commander-in-Chief of 8th Army.
Which is
in
over
Seoul, Korea,
okay.
Over us, to the Commanding General of 9th Corps, of which our company is attached,
okay,
to the 101st Signal Battalion,
which
my
is
battalion, concerning Private Gene William Davidson.
Oh, I bet you just about passed
I
out.
Died.
Yeah.
But what the president demanded was a complete review of why I was not issued proper clothing.
Right. Size 14 boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next morning, a helicopter landed at our bunker, and out came the general with size 14 boots.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, snail mail actually worked back then.
It worked.
That's great.
My mom wrote the President of the United States.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I lost her letter.
Oh.
But when all this took place, I ran my own copy of the teletype tape and the letter.
I bet it was amazing to you to pull off this tape and find out it was about you.
It was. But yes, it's been something I've had to deal with. But God has been so good. He brought me home.
Mm-hmm. And when did you meet Judy?
Oh, I was considered an old man when I went back to college. I was probably 24, 25, right in there. And Judy was a freshman. What did the guys do at Biola, the Bible Institute of Los Angeles at that time? We'd all stand out on the stairs where the girls would have to come in to muster into the school to get our first pick.
Oh.
And I saw Judy, and I said, I've got to meet her. But keep in mind, she was barely 16. Just graduated from high school. She's a brilliant girl. But she made a mistake when she fell for me.
I don't think that was a mistake. Didn't you just have your anniversary?
Pardon me?
Didn't you just have a wedding anniversary?
Yeah, 61 years.
61 years.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I know you have a million stories about your time. I wish we had time for all of them. But let me just say thank you for your service.
You're welcome, and thank you and your husband.
Thank you. And all of the veterans at Laurelwood, we appreciate you so much. I wish we could mention you all by name, and I wish we could see you in person and thank you for your service.
Amen.
So just know from our hearts, we thank you.
Amen.